Welcome here to the Gamma Project. My name is Justin McGuire. I'm here with Miranda and George, all the way in London. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
These two beautiful people are doing a piece currently in the Metro about the Gamma Project. They've done exceptionally well. George, how much body fat have you lost now in the last 3 weeks with the engagement of the Gamma Project?
9.5%.
And Miranda started at 15.3, which really, for you guys out there, for a woman, that's exceptionally low. It's athletic level. And to bring it down even further than that takes a lot of effort and a lot of precision. But Miranda, tell us, from 15.3 to start, where are you now?
12.3.
And tell me, we came onto the program today to discuss quite a big topic about how we got these changes and how we can sustain these changes in the long run. Would you give us an idea of what questions you'd like to ask us today?
Yeah, so we're interested in the role of blood glucose, like how you use the blood glucose readings to determine what sort of training and calorie count we should be having every day, and like what the different readings mean for nutrition and exercise, and what causes them.
Perfect. All right, so firstly for training, excessive levels of blood sugar in the morning cause the body to become what they call hyperpolarized, meaning excessively aware, which causes the muscle to become excessively positive. If you think about how we contract muscle, when we shorten muscle, it's positive. When we lengthen, it's more eccentric or negative in nature. So when a muscle is excessively positive, it means it's tense, excessively tense. The whole body is really tense. And when the body's tense, have you ever seen a guy that's worked in the office and you go try to get him to do a yoga session, or you be at a yoga class? You guys do yoga currently with Michael, right?
Yeah.
You've probably seen some of you guys in there. Take quite a lot of effort, and not to mention the amount of strain and sweat pouring from these guys just to get into those stretch positions. Right? So that's like when the body is hyper active, where the muscle can't quite lengthen itself in the right means, and it's trying to hold on for dear life because it's trying to protect itself. And generally, increased levels of blood sugar in the morning give us an idea of how stressed out a person's body is, affecting the neurology and complete physiology, to the point of possibly choosing a better exercise selection or exercise strategy to help reduce tension and stress throughout the body. So instead of doing like a conventional weight training session, opting some days to do a yoga session would be probably a more benefit to get the body primed to handling that weight session more effectively. So that's for training. Nutrition-wise, if you go to any psychiatric ward in the developed world, you'll notice that they don't give patients that have extreme depression or any form of psychosis a high protein content. They actually give them a higher combination of carbohydrate to their diet plan. And the reason for that is stress isn't all bad. Stress can be really effective in losing fat if it's controlled and modulated properly. It's just the unmanaged amount of stress that causes fat retention rather than fat loss. In psychiatric wards, the purpose is not body composition, it's mental health. And the best way of reducing one's amount of anxiety is actually having more carbohydrate. Why? Stress hormone releases energy. And when we release a lot of energy, we produce ATP, which is pure form of energy for contraction and other purposes of focus and mental production within our bodies. When we have available glucose, we don't need to release as much stress hormone to mobilize glucose into the bloodstream from stored sources like muscle glycogen or liver glycogen. We already have it available to us. So a diet that has a higher amount of carbohydrate can also be detrimental if it's bad sourced, but good source carbohydrate diet actually keeps you a little bit more subdued and more calm than a high protein diet with very little carbs. The only thing is, a high protein diet with little carbs actually optimizes your fat burning potential that much more because it makes use of stress hormone to the purpose of fat loss. It's kind of finding through blood sugar whether or not someone can go on that diet or shouldn't go on that diet and what effect it would have. So I've played around with your macros quite a few times already in the last 3 weeks. And the reason for that is I wanted to see exactly what your glucose and your heart rate variability response was after changing up certain ratios. And you did really well initially when I had a bit more carbs. So I took the carbs down a little bit more just to optimize what your initial goals were for body composition. Because we're here to transform you guys in a short period of time, but sustain that transformation for a long period of time. And what will happen is, as time goes along and you build more muscle, George, and you also build more muscle, Miranda, you'll probably find that your volume of carbohydrate meals will increase because you become more insulin sensitive. So the utilization of your food becomes more primed toward energy outlay than energy storage. So that gives you an idea of how we gauge training and how we gauge diet in accordance to fasting glucose in the morning.
Okay, so say if so the optimum blood glucose is like mid fours, right? 4.8 or something. So if one day you had someone at 4.8 and the next day they had 5 and the next day it's like it kept going up, what would be the sort of typical macro plan that you'd put them on to bring that back down? You'd reduce the carbohydrate level.
Firstly, what I would do is to try and get them down. I would first look at the pattern, because sometimes what can happen is, depends on the training volume. So it's not necessarily just diet, but also the external stimulus along with the dietary means that cause the whole plan or whole puzzle to come together. So I would say, okay, great. So to do 4.8, then maybe they didn't train the day before. And then all of a sudden they train, and the next day they're measuring 5. And they train again, and the next day they're measuring 5.2. I would probably give it another 1 or 2 days thereafter. And in that time, what I would do is keep the ratios very similar, but maybe just increase the calories a little bit more to reduce the stress, the need for stress hormone, because you have available energy. It doesn't matter if it's carbs or not carbs. Calories are calories. It just takes a lot more energy to produce glucose from proteins or fats than it does from carbohydrate. But you can still produce glucose through other sources as well. So I initially may just increase calories by between 100 and 300 calories, depending on the size of the person. And then I would see after a day's rest, when they're doing some more stretching and some more internal work, what the glucose would be thereafter. And if it's still elevated thereafter, then I would look into other factors. And it's sort of like right now, we have your trainer, great trainer, guys, by the way, Lawrence Fontaine from South London. Anybody in London, hit him up. But really, his glucose is spiking up and down the whole time. Like it was running a while, really good, and all of a sudden it would come up to 6.5, and then down to 4.2, and then come up and down. Now, there are certain type of routines or stats that give you an idea as to what a possible cause could be. In my experience, working in this for now 17 years and working with blood sugar and biosignature and heart rate variability for biosignature for the last 9 years, and all these other things for the last 4 or 5 years. What I come to notice is people that spike up and down and are irregular with the blood sugar, it's generally a case of overgrowth of unwanted bacteria in the gut. And contrary to reducing stress through carbohydrate increase, which I normally do, in this instance, you actually take carbohydrates down to a very bare minimum, but utilizing a lot of natural cortisol modulating minerals or phytonutrients, as well as suppressive phytonutrients toward overgrowth of that particular bacteria. And you'll do that for a period and long enough to try and create a starvation to unwanted bacteria, to allow for good bacteria to proliferate and for health to come back in order to create a more continued healthy baseline of glucose in the morning. So it's very different from person to person what you would actually do in terms of like, okay, if this happens, what do you do? The first plan of action is initially just increase calories. Don't change your macros. After that, if it happens again after rest days, to make your calories and carbohydrates will go up anyway on rest days, which is what I believe you should do. And it still happens thereafter, then you may have to shift the plan around the macro ratios. But if it still happens there after that, even more of a complex biochemical issue to have to address. Things like bacterial overgrowth, like possible cause, or kidney stress, or not enough absorption of things like iron, B vitamins that could be causing issues with like transamination of amino acids, as an example, which creates metabolites that are pro-inflammatory to the body.
Hmm. Okay. I mean, we noticed the other day when we had like a sort of late night, for example, I didn't really have very much alcohol to drink. George had more than I had, but he had more sleep than I had. And his blood sugar was like a lot lower than mine was. And I was expecting mine to be basically the same because I only had about 2 or 3 drinks compared to George, but about 3 hours less sleep. Is that what you would expect if you are sleep deprived for the blood glucose to go up? Or do you think some people are more sensitive to the role of alcohol?
Two things to that. I think the reason why you're more sleep deprived is probably because you have more of an immune sensitivity to the source of which that alcohol was produced from. As an example, I don't have grain-based vodka. I can't. If I have grain-based vodka, I'll wake up with elevated levels of glucose in the morning, terrible hangover, and feel like it's been run over. However, potato-based, I'm fine with. So the source of where your alcohol is coming from, whether or not sugars have been added to it for the fermentation process to occur quicker, sulfites, everything else that they've added to it as well for the purpose of making it more intoxicating. Um, intoxicating. Sorry, my God, you don't want to speak like this to journalists, guys out there. They will have you. Intoxicating, then you might have an effect on your immune system. So Miranda, it depends on like what your biology responds to as opposed to what George's biology responds to. George, what did you have to drink?
Gin, mainly. Just gin and tonic.
What did you have to drink, Miranda?
Same.
Gin and tonic. So you might find that your difference of genes or exposure to these different types of alcohols might be, you might be okay with wine, Miranda, or you might be okay with vodka, whereas George may not be okay with wine. He may have gout symptoms come up from that, where he'll be fine with gin. So like alcohol isn't all bad. Small amounts of alcohol are actually really good for the brain, believe it or not. It helps you actually regenerate great brain matter or neuron production throughout our nervous system. However, an excessive amounts of ethanol can destroy us as well. So it's about understanding, like, firstly, what does your biology specifically respond to the best? And more importantly, where is the source coming from, and the quantity of anything good in abundance will be bad for you, including exercise. Including exercise. Too many people overtrain. Too much training, and like you could train every day, that's fine, but you can't train every day for an hour and a half, right? You got to bring down the time. If you want to train every day, cool, but keep it at 40 minutes or 30 minutes. Like for me, I like to train every day because it's good for my psychological health. It gives me that that drive, that focus, a little more calmer and assertive at the same time for my day. But I can't train all out. I can't go to the point where I want to literally die. I've done it in the past only to the detriment of psychology for the long run, as well as my physiology. Injury prone, sleep deprived, bowel restricted. So there's a lot of things that come from doing too much too regularly as well, like alcohol.
Okay, cool. And the last thing I want to know is, I'm not actually glucose related, but that everyone's getting sick right now. Like Lawrence was sick the other week. I'm on the brink, and I just want to know what your opinions are on training when you're ill, and like whether training leaves you more susceptible to potential viruses or whatever.
Okay, so if you think about when we contract the virus or we have an overgrowth of a certain type of bacteria, if unfortunately I caught a stomach virus on the weekend from eating out at a restaurant with my girlfriend. So I haven't been ill, but I've been running to the loo more than I'd like to. Sorry guys out there for the graphic detail. But it comes down to, what is the virus doing to your body? It releases more cytokines because it activates more monocytes. These are big words for immune defense cells, all right? And then when these cells become activated, white blood cells rush to the body, causing massive inflammation. And inflammation increases release of sugar into our body through stored sources like glycogen muscle or liver or through fat sources throughout the body. Excessive amounts of sugar cause the body to become acidic. Now, if you're going to train metabolically, and I say metabolically, pushing your heart rate over 130 beats, right? So like a higher threshold. like intensity training or weight training at certain points with very short rest, all you're going to be doing is compounding the negative effect of a highly acidic environment that's currently going on in your body due to the attack that you're under from the virus itself. And in doing so, it's going to weaken your immune system. So you get to a certain point, a little bit of inflammation when you're sick is really good because it helps you defend the body. Too much, it overwhelms the body, and your lymphatic drainage becomes impaired, which means you become more toxic. And then from just having a cold, you start to have issues with your kidneys and your liver, and not to mention your stomach and digestive system as well.
Okay, so you never train when you've got a cold?
Oh, I have done, to the detriment of myself, because I am human, and sometimes I've got an ego. Sometimes a lot of the time. And unfortunately, it's one thing to know something and another thing to apply it, and we get lost in the chaos, which is also why mindfulness is so important. Moving away from a very stressful environment has done the world of good for not just myself, but a lot of other people that have done the same. A lot of people still work in London, but they don't live in London, and it helped them a hell of a lot because it got them time to de-stress and decompress. So sometimes you may know the best thing to do for you, but it's hard to apply the best logic when you're surrounded by chaos. And there's no more chaotic of a place in the world that I know of than New York and London. I mean, they're pretty crazy, right? So sometimes having accountability to a coach or to a friend, when you aren't quite level-headed, so if you're feeling ill, to ask them, should I do this or shouldn't I do this? Because you know the answer already. Let's be honest, right? Like you were ill and you wanted to go for a run. And I'm like, no. But you knew you shouldn't do it. But it's just nice knowing that there's people that care enough to give you good advice. And you can either take it or leave that advice. But the fact that you've asked kind of makes you just warrant the response saying, everything's still going to be okay if I don't put that effort in today. Like, you don't have to put in effort 100% every single day to get 100% back. I don't believe that. When it comes to mindset, the best motivational speakers, in my opinion, in this world, Tony Robbins, and unfortunately he passed away, Wayne W. Dyer. And both of those guys are not like a lot of other motivational speakers where they talk about waking up at 4 a.m, doing the grind harder than everybody else. Because generally those motivational speakers look like they just got run over by a truck. And I don't want to look like that. I don't. They look aggressive and they look tired. And that's not life for me. But it's about putting the quality of work in and just putting 70% effort to 100% quality and getting 100% out. And that's a balance, for everything in life. We all make bad choices, and the best thing about bad choices is you get to learn from them. And the biggest lesson I've learned from a lot of bad choices I've made is to slow down the process enough that you enjoy it. Because if you're not enjoying it, it's going to enjoy you. And it's never good to be enjoyed and not enjoy the process. Believe me.
Great. Okay. Well, I think that's everything. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Shall we do a continuation on this in 2 weeks' time, on the same day and time?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
I'll send you a Google invite. For you guys out there watching, please keep yourself tuned into the article running at the moment about vegan bodybuilding in the Metro by these two beautiful people. And if there's any other questions you may have on training, if you are located in London, hit up Salus London. Lawrence and his team are a really good bunch of guys. And they got a new trainer starting there next year, a surprise trainer, which I can't mention the name, but he is worth his weight in gold. So guys out there, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Miranda. Thank you, George. And have a good day.
Yeah.
Take care.